Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you in the name of Jesus, thanking you for another day that you have brought us through, that you have awakened us. We thank you for us being able to gather together. We just thank you for all the blessings that you bestowed upon us and through us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, it's another session of Talking Reflections.
Yes, sir.
That's right. So today, welcome to the Talking Reflections podcast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about healing. So this is going to be a little bit different from our last Thursday. And just a reminder, we do this every Thursday, so encouraging everybody to come out. So not just about healing as an individual, but also healing as a family, healing as a community. You know, like what does that mean? So this is for healing self, healing family, and healing community. So first, I want to start off where everybody introduces themselves and say who they are, and anything you want, any organization that you're with, or whatever you want from there.
We start with you. You're the moderator.
Cedric Williams, Evolving Digital Media. Cedric Williams, Evolving Digital Media. I give voices to small businesses, nonprofits. That's what I do.
My name is Eric Bryce. I'm just Eric Bryce.
I'm Mark Bird, founder of New Reflections Technical Institute.
Andre, founder of Dads Against Crime.
Michael Enriquez, I'm part of New Reflections.
Paul Thompson, part of New Reflections, and Dads Against Crime. Always.
Perfect. So first, we're going to talk about healing. We're going to talk about healing self. So first, I just want to let's start with a broad question. How do you heal mentally, like in your perspective? We got owners of businesses, organizations. Like, how do you, fathers, how do you heal, mentally specifically? How do you heal yourself? And this might be a good way just to show some advice for, people out there also.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, healing, and I'm going through healing right now, today. And a part of my healing had to deal with being honest with self. A lot of my healing comes from a lot of the roads I traveled as a younger man. A lot of the things I did. So there for me personally has been a progressing through addiction, whether it be drug addiction, and we're talking a wide span of years.
Right.
Drug addiction, alcohol addiction.
It's real.
A lot of people can deal with this hood addiction, hustle addiction.
People don't realize those streets call you more than drugs.
Too hard.
You know that
too hard for my own good.
Yeah.
Addiction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How do you heal mentally? What did you do to go through that process? And it's an ongoing process for everybody.
Well, first I had to be real enough with myself, and then second of them, to keep it succinct, short, I had to allow some of the brothers and the sisters around me who see that I'm going through particular things, so when they bring it to me, it had to be about not denying what a brother may see. If you know me, then you know me. And if I'm off, and we've had our own personal thing, but that's not for right now.
And I want to kind of chime in on his, so I want to kind of help him, because I know he's there and his heart is beating, right? And we feel it. And there's a time where he says, well, you call us out on certain things. And I remember, a few weeks ago, man, and it just touches my spirit.
About 3 to 4.
And, we go back from grade school, right?
Grade school, 74,
and
75.
He walked in this building, and the way he walked in, I said, that ain't Bryce. You off. You know what I mean? Like, you off, bro. Like, and he was just, it was like it was on him. And I said, man, you got to heal, bro. Like, we gotta get tighter. And we had some real honest conversations in that. And we talked about AA, which is healing.
No doubt.
We talked about just being men and just being transparent. Just somebody being able to call you out. That's healing, and what he said is being accepting.
The ability to be off of your square, to be honest about being off of your square, because we're not always going to get it right.
Yeah.
We come from, at least my generation, your generations, us, we've come through a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
We've seen too much, and a lot of cats are like me, and they're like you, and they're like you. We all probably have a lot of things in common. We probably buried a lot of friends too early. A lot of us have been locked in boxes too early. A lot of us have tried to figure out how to find peace in a world that doesn't want us to have peace.
Mm-hmm.
For real.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
All right, Mark, what about you, brother? Well, how would you say, like, what do? Do you sit down? Do you read a book? Do you read a good book? Do you make sure you don't miss that Sunday sermon? Do you throw on some TD Jakes? Like how do you sit down and
real talk? I do all of it. I remember a time when I was running and in the streets and also dealing with addiction to the street. So that's when people would come in and say, oh, you don't understand, you don't know what I'm going through. Yeah, I do, I've been there, I did that, did all that. Probably would have ran 10 circles around you, been to prison and back 5 times before you realized what you was doing. So healing for me was taking a journey and sometimes reading this book, right? Sometimes making sure I am in that service, and I want to share something to you which is really reflective of what we're talking about. And if you notice, we have 3 books up here. One is Leadership, which is a good book, a great read, right, that we have. And every man should arm himself with the book, right? They say if you hide something, you want to hide something, hide it in a book. As black men, we won't go look it in the book, right? Next book is by Tony Evans, Kingdom Man. This book here is one I just finished a couple weeks ago, which is Don't Drop the Mic by T.D. Jakes, just what you said. But what it speaks here, it says, speak to silence your fears. I pray you never have to face a 10-foot giant blocking you in your path. But if you do, I hope you will not allow the fear to prevent you from delivering the message only you can deliver.
Yeah, right.
Then it goes on to say, most of the giants that we encounter only appear bigger because of the stress of the situation that we're limited to see from our only advantage, right? Then when we speak, as we go on, we allow our imagination to dwell in worst cases and making these scenarios. It makes us second guess ourselves. How many times have we all done that? You see what I mean? We made the situation bigger than what it was because our imagination, that mind. So I do everything to help me heal. Things that I used to run from, and things that I wasn't, wanting to accept in my life. It helped me. It helped me to heal. And that's why we're doing this here. Communicating is part of healing.
Yeah. So for me,
Ooh, it just got hot in here. Boy, I didn't have to sweat in here.
how I had to heal was, I honestly, I had to do therapy.
Oh, yeah.
That's going into our next.
That's going into it.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
So, I had to go back and find out them traumas that caused me to be paranoid, them traumas that caused me from not trusting people, just from being in that street life. So it was trauma. So I had to get therapy for a whole year, and I say therapy works. I'm an advocate for it.
Great avenue, yes.
It stopped me from being paranoid. A lot of people don't know, man. I was on anxiety medication, right? So I was on that anxiety medication. They want you to take it, telling you to pop it, but the medication it didn't help, right? All the medication did for me was it covered up the anxiety right there. But soon when the medication wore off, the anxiety was right back. So walking through therapy, getting through therapy, and then really, really going hard in the Lord, like really stepping up my prayer life.
Amen.
Praying 3 times a day, fasting every Saturday. And what happened was I actually been off of my anxiety medication ever since I stepped my prayer life up and like really reading the word and really fasting and dedicating myself to the Lord. Wherever the Lord is, fear and the Lord cannot exist in the same place.
Absolutely.
It's
Say
impossible.
that again. Say that again.
Yeah, so it's either fear wins or the Lord wins. The more time you spend with the Lord, the less fearful you are. The less time you spend with the Lord, the more fearful
Say
you
that.
are. So that's how I heal.
All right, cool. I love it. We're going to get to that too. All right, Mike.
Healing starts with with acceptance. You know, if I've struggled with drug addiction, anxiety, depression, it starts with the accepting that, you know, you have these struggles for myself. And then also, you know, seeking the Lord, as Andre said. You seek the Lord, you know, He's gonna place people in your life, the resources that you need so that you can continue to heal. Yeah. And then like Bryce was saying about, you know, if a brother points something out to you, you know, don't be argumentative, be receptive. You know, that constructive criticism helps build you up.
It does.
And you accept life as it is. It's hard and it's unfair at times, but sometimes we make it harder than what it needs to be. Yeah. As Marcus
like that
said, giant.
Yeah,
as Marcus said, we make it, you know, bigger than what it is when it's just like, okay, I got an issue. How do I tackle this? How do I go about, you know, resolving this issue? So healing is an ongoing process, and you know, at times once you acquire the tools to, you know, to heal, you just got to continue to use them.
I think a big part of what you're saying is acquiring the tools, and that's what we lack a lot as far as men. Yes. You think if you go into a grocery store, you look in the aisle, it has women learn to love. Women do the house. Women learn, women, right? Then you look at our section, you know what we sell? Guns and work and muscles and sports. That's all we got as far as us to have something to learn. So it's not just casually open for us. We have to be seekers of information.
I think a lot of times we have the tools, we just don't know that we have them.
Too, but what he said, even what Brother said about therapy, how many of us in this room have been to therapy that really need therapy?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And
that need it, because we think, oh, something wrong, you crazy. No, you crazy if you don't go to therapy.
Or you soft.
Or you soft. See, because my thing is, I need a place where I can go, bah. Yeah. I can get it out. Then I don't have to worry about some woman or some man or somebody judging me or telling me I'm something. Bah. And I'll leave out of there, boys, eyes swole up red, then cried, laughed, right? So we need that. But
and I want to add one more thing with acceptance, but also forgiveness of self, and forgiveness.
Oh, that's big.
If someone has, you know, caused you a trauma,
that's big.
You know, when you're able to forgive somebody, that energy, that negative energy, you're no longer harboring. So if someone wronged me, you know, they're going on about their life, so why would I harbor this negative energy towards them? You know what? I forgive you. You go on about your life. We can't agree. We can't come to terms to agree on certain things, but I forgive you, and I'm gonna go on about my life.
Say that, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I like that. I like that.
All right. How do you heal?
All right. I would say that most of us, you know, we have to accept the fact that we are men, but we are vulnerable. You know, because when you accept that you're vulnerable, like, that's what got me here. I accepted I was vulnerable, so I started making them calls. And I started reaching out to brothers that can help me heal, because I know that they may be needing the healing too, and may be needing to hear that regardless of where we came from, that if you humble yourself enough and you reach out to somebody, you might hear what you need to hear.
That's right.
You know, so I picked up that phone, and it's funny, you know, that that we all sitting here right now, because honestly, this brother right here, with Dads Against Crime, that's how I started, how I met him. I picked up that phone, and I realized that, hey, you know something? Hey, I need to talk to somebody, because this brother and me might have something in common, and we can figure this out together. So I made that call. So when I realized that he was with something that I believe in, Dads Against Crime, come on now, y'all. If nothing else in this world, we as men, crime should be like at our top tier, you know, priority to try to prevent, because we are protectors. You know what I mean? That's our foundation as men, is to protect where we come from. So the crime rate that we see in our community is, you know, at a high rate, because we're not vulnerable enough to accept to ourselves and make no phone calls to reach out and say, hey, brother, hey, man, today was a bad day for me, man. How you feeling today? Because
some conflict resolution.
Yes.
Some conflict resolution.
You can save a life with a phone call.
Where can I reach out to? Who can I talk to? Who's coming for me? Sometimes
Yeah.
you just need somebody to come for you.
And you need mediation as well,
just
because
like, man, I don't know how to deal with this.
mediation, because a lot of the
Great
crime
word.
is due to embarrassment. Someone's been embarrassed, and they
Yeah.
gotta go. They feel they gotta, retaliate
Yeah,
with something
yeah.
that's permanent.
Yeah.
And they have that one perspective coming from them.
Yeah,
And it often takes somebody outside.
the mediation.
Because we're deep in our emotions.
Yeah, you separate the two and then say,
we're
look at
deep
it.
in our emotions.
Yes.
And if somebody who isn't involved in whatever's going on right there can often talk you down.
And that's their harboring that
or
negative
talk you through.
negativity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I remember situations, and it sounds like a simple technique. And I learned it through counseling years and years ago, right? So I've been in this counseling thing for a long time. But it sounds simple. Whenever something happens, count backwards from 10. Right? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Right.
3, 2, 1. See how that just slowed us all down? Yeah. If you still mad after that, you need therapy. Because that 10 seconds should give you something like, whoo, I could.
But it's those emotions, when you're emotionally driven. I just read a book called Life's Greatest Lessons, 20 Things That Matter. It talks about, when we're have these intense emotions, like you said, take a breath. You might need to come back the next day or the next day to address it. Just, you need to take a step back because you will make the wrong decision.
You know what the old man told me in Chicago, 23 when I first
Watch your
moved
mouth
up
with the
there,
old
right?
man stuff now. Don't you be throwing them words around here.
No, he was an old man, Big Al. Big Al. And it was a street conversation. And he said, if you want to kill something, it was very hood related. He said, if you want to kill somebody on Tuesday, wait until Thursday and see how you feel on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Don't be so reactive.
Our emotions, but adrenaline is a drug.
Reactive.
Yeah.
It makes us do things that we wouldn't necessarily do.
Something that takes 10 seconds to happen
Yeah.
can change your whole life.
Put you away forever.
Yep.
That's perfect. So, next topic, Andre led us right into it too, is like studies show that women go to therapy more than men. And why do you think this is the case, and how do we change the narrative that, men, it's good for men to go to therapy. Men can go there. It should, just like everyone else.
I think it's a Western society construct. You know what
See,
I
I'm
mean?
going to stop you. We got to stop blaming other people in Western and society and the system said it's about us doing this
But I get that, but it's
getting
it's
this
not a blame.
out that it's okay. Because this room should be full of men because we all crying out, right? And we end up in prison, or again, we end up across the street in that cemetery, right? Because we don't understand how to communicate. And often as we grow older, we die in silence.
Why don't we?
You ever seen that?
Why don't we know how to communicate?
Because most of us weren't taught communication.
Whatever culture we're born in, whatever country we're in, there's always a culture. There's always a construct as to what's accepted and what's not accepted. And
But again, Bryce, you gotta look at it.
I get that.
Look at us as a kid. Look at us as a kid when we were growing up. Little girls were playing with dolls. They were playing combing hair. They were playing house. They was putting together a home. They was coming out. They were preparing for life. And family, you know what we were doing?
I was playing with dolls too, but it was Evil
Oh,
Knievel.
man, keep that. All right.
No, it was Evil Knievel. G.I. Joe.
That's a different.
You know what I mean? The
Oh,
steel
the
dogs.
stretch
Steel
man.
dogs.
I remember the stretch
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I got it.
Stretch Armstrong.
But my point was that we were taught to run fast, catch balls, throw balls. That's how strong I am. I could do more push-ups than you. We weren't taught to develop our heart. See what I mean? So when we end up in relationships and we end up in situations, we don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to talk. That woman will lit you up. Da, 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 da. You like, whoa, because we weren't prepared. We weren't communicators. Because you know what we do? We get mad. I can hit harder than you.
No, I get that.
Right? So I think that's the reason why we don't communicate.
There are multiple reasons. It doesn't have to just be one.
Why? I do have a question though. Why do we retreat? Why do most men retreat
From what?
from that interaction right there? Why do we not face it head on?
You know what? I don't think we
Fear.
retreat from interaction. We retreat from a particular form of interaction.
Yes, that's what I was gonna
We've
say.
always had our people. We've always had We've always had our sounding boards, from kids to those who the hustle and this. We've always had our sounding boards. But to me, is what we sound off about. You know what I mean?
Because everything
It's
don't
like
even require a response, though.
Men have a small box
But it goes
of
back to what
things.
Seti said, pride.
Pride?
You offended me. You hurt my feelings, and I don't know how to tell you that I'm bothered by you, and I didn't like how you talked to me.
But we come from a John Wayne culture, though.
I just really did appreciate how you talked to me, and it wasn't even that. The truth really made me that upset.
Embarrassment.
Yeah.
Embarrassment.
Shame.
Yeah.
But like you said form. So for therapy, form, this one-on-one may not work for one,
Right.
but if we're in a group, like you said, you had your sounding boards, where we can talk about certain things, but why can't we talk about this?
What are
This
we
is
willing to talk about? Like what Bird was talking
Yeah,
about?
sports,
2 weeks
this.
ago when I'm off my square. Now,
Yeah.
this 20 years ago, Bird, even though I love him, might not have been able to tell me that I'm off my square. Because I didn't have the wisdom that I have now.
To be receptive.
I wasn't able to, be receptive, but I also wasn't able to pinpoint my needs.
Or your feelings, too.
Or my feelings, and I wasn't able to, because we also grow up in a macho society for men.
Oh, definitely.
We always got to have our chest stuck out. You know what I mean? We always got to have our chest stuck out. So if this guy, even though I love him, we go back 20 years ago, if he told me, bro, you're off my square, I probably would have pushed back. Who you to tell me I'm off my square? Niggas, as far back as we go, I can come in and where I want. I ain't, this ain't nothing illegal.
So you're not being receptive. Hey, you know what? Let's talk about this tomorrow. Right now, your emotions are high. We can revisit
You know what I
this.
told him? I said, leave. I said, leave. I said, leave, and I'm going to call you later.
We talk later.
Let's go outside. And I kept walking him to his car, and he was so off. He was, no. And I just, you know what I mean? He was just like,
almost,
you know what I mean? Yeah, it was that. But, but we go so far back. We've done that, too.
Yeah.
Right?
So we talked about, you just said something too, like we in that John Wayne, you know what I mean? That the mindset of
John
like
Wayne
even
was never a
I know we
hero
got some
to most.
fathers here too. The mindset of like manning up, like man up, stop crying. Like how does that also the way that we were also raised? Like how do you think does that impact the way you raise your kids or like or even like how do you think that impacted you being raised?
Yeah, no doubt. But I have dogs.
Andre, let me hear from you real quick.
Yeah, so the thing about men and about women is that from youth, women are taught to express their emotions. Men are taught to stuff their emotions. So the only emotions that suppress. So the only emotion that is acceptable in America from a man is that aggressive rah energy. So if I open up and I do sit down, the one-on-ones are hard because if I do sit down and say, hey bro, hey Paul, man, you really offended me, bro. Like I'm hurt. Like I could almost cry, And I actually just had a conversation with a person the other day because I was talking about one of my family members who's not doing well, and they straight up asked me. They said, hey, did the person die or not? And that's straight what they said. And so in the instant, I got really mad, and I told him, I said, hey, don't talk to me for the rest of the day. Don't say nothing to me. Then that person came to me later.
Can I ask you why you got mad?
I got mad because it hurted. It hurted me.
So
like
anger is the tip of the iceberg as you learn anger management, but what's underneath?
Yeah,
right.
The
it
hurt.
was what you
suppressing.
I felt like the person wasn't caring while I was expressing myself. So later that person came to me and they was like, okay, I'm sorry, but I said, but now let me tell you how you offended me. I said, you showed no empathy towards me at all. No emotion. So I said, that hurted me. And I said, honestly, I was at the point where I do want to cry right now. I said, that's how bad you hurt me with that. And so we apologized, but that took me going to therapy, right? To be able to express my emotions. And when I do, I don't worry about what people think. So if I express my emotions, I say, hey, you hurt me, you upset me, I'm frustrated, this is what you did. If they don't receive it, it's okay. It's for me though.
Yeah,
it's for me to heal, to be better. Yeah.
You gotta heal from that. You can't carry that because then you just carrying a weight.
Would you say you've learned to get out your ego?
Huh?
Would you say that you've learned how to get out of your ego?
That's in order to be the man that my wife and my kids need me to be. Ego can't exist inside of me. Right? It just can't.
And that's powerful. One thing I want to look at, and we all, of course, men here, and we see our crime rate. Yeah. We see what's going on with our murder rate, which is I mean, outrageous. We're about to break records. And that's terrible to break that kind of record, right? That most of these murders that are happening between, for little boys and girls, in between the ages of 15 to 24 years old. They're technically youth. They're kids. They ain't had a chance to even learn what it is, right? But when you look at the situation, there's lack of us in the house, right? So when you think of us in prison, you think of us in jail, in dead, you think of us just absent, you think of addiction, you think of sexuality, you think of all these things, it removes us out of the house. So what are our sons learning? Who are they learning from?
Women.
The women, right? Now, you're going to follow something, okay? Everybody going to follow something. You're going to look up to something, right? So what I challenge us in this is, how do we heal our community in that point of reaching out to our kids and helping these kids that are lost? They don't know to have faith and that faith and fear don't live together. They don't know.
And that goes right to the next part. We wanted to, which is, how do we heal family? How do we heal family? And what we want to do on this, we can talk about the problems all day. I think there's a lot of groups of people that's doing that, talking about issues, but we're here to talk about solutions. And then, put it all in a pot, mix up, and see who has the best play, who has the best one. You know what I mean? So how do you heal family? How do we break generational curses and trauma, that may have happened in our family without the, lashing out and blaming or separating ourselves from our family? How do we heal? How do we heal the family?
Man, so for me, I believe that the most important structure in a family is definitely the man, right? So, so for me with DAC, the things that we do at DAC, the reason why we do all of these things is because I feel like the woman and the man got a role, right? The man is to lead, and leadership trickle down from Christ to the man, from the man to the woman, from the woman to the children, right? And so we got all of these, like, let's just say we got all of these nonprofits going. Some of the nonprofits are geared towards women and children, but we still got a high crime rate because women and children is not the problem. Men are the problem. And if you fix the man, if you grab the man and you fix him and you make him a better man, you save the family. So you don't have to save the woman or the child. We just got to save the man. It's not our responsibility. It's his responsibility to go save that child and to go save that woman. But we as men, it's our responsibility to save our brother that's fallen. And so if we want to make our communities better, if we want the crime rate to go down, just save the man. And that's the problem. That's the problem is man. The solution is saving.
But again, that's the absence.
Yes, the
of
absence.
The man.
Yes.
We're absent.
Absolutely.
We're absent. So if you left to teach and do things on your own, and your big homie like, listen, I got this pack for you.
Yep.
Daddy ain't there, uncle ain't there, grandpapa ain't there. You gonna snatch that pack, right?
Yep.
All that, stick your chest out. You tough. Stop crying. Stop. All that come back out.
Yep.
Right? Because that's on my forefront. Now I gotta show you how tough I am so I can even survive in this neighborhood. Right? You ain't just keep beating me up. Right? So eventually I gotta learn how to
I gotta get at you.
I gotta learn how to get that, right? And right now we don't have any, as we said, conflict resolution, communication. So now that's what this is. The solution is what Andre said, is men.
Yeah.
It's us. Yeah. We're the common denominator.
Yes.
And specifically, how do you heal? Maybe there's a man out there who is going through something right now, going through a situation where he doesn't know, like, how does he heal his family? Like, things put on top of him, and now he doesn't want to pass that on. So what are those first steps? I'm hearing accountability. I'm hearing reaching out to a tribe and making sure that, you got a group of people around you. But like, what type of things specifically? You know what I mean? Like conflict resolution. But like, how do we heal our family? Where do we start? What's step one?
I think it's a two-pronged effect, in my opinion. Maybe more, I don't know, but this came to my mind. And we talked about this last week when we got to talking about systems and whatnot. One, we have to create a system that works for us. A system for us, a system that breathes and thinks and has the DNA that we have. And that's something that the greater society plugs into as a whole. That's the familial structure. But we also have to deal with ourselves individually and create a system that works for the individual, because we're not all the same. We don't have all the same talents. We're not all at the same place in our journey. So we put together something, we have to put a culture together that has an accountability for the individual as well as an accountability for the village.
And I think it is exactly chiming in what you're saying is that creating that system, right? That
Takes time.
means an economic system.
No doubt.
For you to feed an economic system, you have to have something that feeds economics, right? Which is training, which is workforce, right? Resources to be able to get the training that we need so that we can be that supportive factor in our families, right? Then, of course, you know, let me back up. God first. You need to drop to your knees and pray to God.
Speak that.
You better pray to God first.
We want to, put that in there. Like, God has to be our foremost in front on everything that we put in front of us. Without Him, there's nothing else that we can do. Because when we look at everything that we've been through and everything that we done conquered, we can honestly sit and say that God brought us through all of that. So at the end of the day, He was the one to do that anyway. So if He's not our forefront, then what are we even playing with Him for? And me personally, I'm going to get a little personal. I'm going to seek, we're getting family therapy right now. You know what I'm saying? Me and my kids, because of, undealt my past traumas from a childhood, from, certain situations that my father, from drinking and everything like that I didn't deal with, that ended up stemming into my adulthood. Now I feel like my children and I are at a point where we all need to sit down collectively and have that mediator and talk to somebody, and be able to figure out, where each other is coming from, because it's so many different, I guess you would say, thoughts going on around in the house right now because of, the things that's been separated, because we've been separated. Like, I literally just got me and my kids into one house, so now that we in one house, and I thank God for that. Now it's time for me to start that healing process with my kids as well. But when we start that healing process with our kids, we have to make sure that that's what we really want for ourselves. You cannot, take your healing and take it for granted and not do it wholeheartedly, I would say. You have to do it wholeheartedly. You can't do it, you have to be ready to do it right then and there and make sure that you're leading your kids down the right way. Because my kids have to deal with a lot of things that I didn't want to deal with as a kid, And right now where we at, everything that we coming through is being through the grace of God, and I appreciate Him, and it's put, like right now, sitting here with y'all right now was a blessing. That's all I want to say to y'all right now. Amen. And I truly appreciate y'all, because if we don't start making the phone calls as men, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to stand on this. Because if we don't start humbling ourselves as men and start reaching out to other men about the things that we're going through, then we're going to keep crumbling.
Yeah. What I love what you said, though, is, which is the solution, which was what we talked about. You're bringing your family in, right? You brought your children in. When you said that my children are in my home, we're in one home, When we have these broken homes, and, we're all men, and some may have a child here and a child there and a child there. I've done it, right? But when we have those broken homes, you're leaving someone to raise your children.
No doubt.
Right? And input their thoughts, their ways into your children. So you bringing them in close to you, and you're accepting a healing process. Woo! That's big, right? And your kids will respect you and value that my dad tried, right? I remember going through something with my children, and, it had a point where I needed to make a decision as a man to try to get custody of my children, because I just felt like I needed to. I ain't had no time. I'm thinking I want to run a business. I'm Mark Bird, and I'm trying to, God humbled me, shut me down so quick. Before you know it, I was in court. I want my kids. I want my kids, right? So now I can teach my kids and instill in my kids. I cook for my kids. I read with my kids. I go to school with my kids. I go to parent conferences with my kids. I attend dance with my kids. So when they grow up and they look, they're going to say, if nothing else, Daddy was there.
Your kids know they love you. Your kids know that you love them. And it's evident. You know what I mean? It's evident. Done a good job, bro.
They didn't deserve to be here.
No.
They didn't ask to be here. Kids didn't ask to be here. That's us. For whatever we was in that moment. Yeah. Well, you want to say maybe 1 in a million. Was a great swimmer, right? But but the fact of is that they're here. So what do? You gotta fight for them. You gotta raise them. You gotta instill everything that you did not give. Give it. If you don't know how to do it, read a book about it. Pray. Go to church. Talk to your pastor. Meetings. Do everything. We are our resources. We're the resource.
That's good.
We're here to resource. We can all right now put in a chapter and write a book, and I bet it'll be a bestseller. You put a chapter, you chapter. We have a best-selling book. And you know who will probably read it the most? Women. We probably still wouldn't read it. Women, they be like,
man, that's true.
I told you. We walk right past it, right? But, you know, we are the resource. We are the resource that we need. And we have to start leaning on us and depending on us, being stronger, you know, being stronger as men, being vulnerable as men, right? Being able to say, I'm off my square.
Yeah.
I'm on, and I want to bring you on.
Right.
All this jealousy and envy and competition, you got the same 24 hours a day that I got. And 8,000 seconds you got them too. And we got to teach our kids.
Because the thing is,
have that too. Enjoy it.
As men, even if we're always putting out an example, period. Whether we're doing or whether we're not doing, we're putting out an example. It's on us to figure out what example we want to put out. Be cognizant about it, you know, and take the time to put out the proper example. Take some thought. Take some thought.
Love it. Well, where are we on time?
We got 25.
Okay.
Last topic. Healing community. So first we did healing self,
big one there.
Healing family, and now, you know, healing community. So of course it starts with the individual, making sure your family is a good nucleus, and then you know, bringing that same energy to your community. So just a broad question. We're already throwing all these nuggets. We're already saying all the same thing, but specifically, how would you say, how do you heal community? How do you heal the community after all the, you know, shootings and the deaths and the things that's happened here in Kansas City? For example, there's a South Africa and Africa. They had to go through healing. You know, they had to go through healing when it came to apartheid. There is many tribes in Africa where they had so many civil wars, but guess what? They still had to live with each other at the end of the day, and they had to stop that killing. You know, so what is that step? You know, how do we heal community?
You know, I think it's back. We're saying the same thing, but creating and working in a system that we're removing barriers and we're providing the resources and opportunities for our kids, right? You got to have something to do. Our kids are not going off to college. They're not running off and doing this. You got to have something to do, right? If you walk up down the street and it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you see a little 13-year-old kid walking out, you know they're supposed to be in school. You know they're supposed to be in school. You walk in there, I was in the Walgreens the other day, and you know, you gotta be careful what you say to these Thundercats, because they shoot you, they got guns and stuff.
Big ones.
You know, but little boy's in there, pants down, drawers hanging out. He's just a cussing, ranting and raving. Ain't nobody in there but senior citizens trying to get their medicine. And he's on his phone, and I waited for him to come outside. I couldn't help myself. Brother, why you talk like that? Why you talk like that? Man, you remember in class, we used to say, don't put your butt on my seat. Don't come in with put your drawers on my seat. Why you coming here with your butt hanging out? I don't want your underwear on my seat. You want somebody's underwear on your couch at home?
Fecal matter.
Right? But we don't tell nobody. We don't say nothing.
I'm going to say being more proactive is something that we need to do. But also with being proactive, in the way that you said it though is the way that we need to do it, because like the way we come at people sometimes come off the wrong way. But maybe pulling that brother to the side, like you just stated, you know, maybe go along a little bit further than just calling him right out then and there, because people don't take that too times. You know,
now you come at me.
If we start understanding how to approach people in the right way and be able to talk to people, like when you see people on the, like me personally, all right, I ride the metro. I'm gonna put it to you like this. I see people on the bus all the time, like just getting out of disorderly, getting out of pockets, you know, and it's a way that I come at them. Hey, brother, you know, you don't really got to be doing that today because today gonna be a good day. You ain't really got to say nothing like, hey, you know, you ain't, you know, you ain't, don't go back at them.
Yeah, you talking at
them. You know, don't talk back at them. You know, approach them in a little bit of a kinder way. Like, hey, brother, no, it's not that day. You know, today's a good day. It's gonna be all right.
That's good.
You know, some things might not be going your way today, but maybe later on it might be going for you. You know, so the way we come at people is another way. You know, but I do feel like we do need to be more proactive as men and start stepping up and not being afraid to address people when they do get out of pocket.
You know, sometimes I think as older cats, we forget that we were younger cats. So
wait a minute, hold it. Who you talking about?
We step to a young Thundercat thinking that respect is a given, but it's not. You know, you still have to honor a person, and you still have to speak to them with some kind of respect. You know, I talk to a lot of these cats out here, and I always prerequisite anything I want to ask, I want to know, anything I want to impart by, young blood, you mind if I holler at you? Let me ask you a question. And once they give me their permission, because I need your permission for me to say what I'm getting ready to say. You know what I mean?
And most of them never been respected that way.
I'm talking, if I've done it 100 times, soon as I ask that, the entire thing changes. And I'm talking about it might be a cat with a thing, whatever, pants hanging down to his kneecaps, because I always got a lot of questions.
Let me holler at you, brother.
Do you mind if I ask you? Do you mind if I ask you a question?
I like it.
And then they're open. And I'm able to ask them some profound, and 9 out of 10 times I'm going to ask them something and they're always going to say, I never thought about that. Or you right. Or huh. You know, because I'm not looking to be validated by them agreeing with me, because I already know where certain things are going to lead, because I've been there. It's not on me to make you understand where I'm coming from. If I'm an older cat with a little wisdom, it's on me to find a way to get you to the table to sit down and talk to me, so I can talk to you honestly, and we can still be men, you know what I mean? But we're adding that caveat of respect, and the world doesn't respect us. Go ahead. You know,
I'm going to reflect back on something, and it was funny, but very real. Because in a situation as men, I remember when these two gentlemen met. Okay. All right. And, you know, Said has been, man, he's my mentee. I take my little brother. Man, you hear me? He's amazing, right, at what he does. And I seen something in him that reminded me a lot of myself and others, right? But also we're coming back to a situation where, Brother Bryce, we've known each other 30 years, right? Or more. We're talking about Pinkerton days on the playground.
40.
40 years, yeah.
40 plus.
So we're at the house having a good time, bonfire, great time, great moment, in time. I come outside in my garage, and these two locked up.
I'm tripping.
He didn't lock Said up. You know what I mean?
Said was back in the
I don't know if he was there. I don't know if he was there. I don't know if his story. This is not the right story.
But he's not around then he locked him up.
It's all different story.
So then they going. But what it was that conflict resolution was there. It was a safe environment for them to be able to be men. I always never want to go to physical, right? But it was a situation where a few minutes later, man, they were talking. They were just talking, right? And he's Uncle Bryce now, right? And that's nephew.
Well, not only were we talking that day.
But hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. But what I learned and what I loved about that, his soul and his discernment, he called me that next day, he said, I was tripping. I didn't take young brother in this situation. You told me that you didn't know how much he meant to me. You said that. You said, I didn't realize how much he meant
Sounds
to you.
like yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's real talk after a situation. Yes, that young brother means something to me, and you need to value him too, right? And over that situation, because you tangled up a little bit, now y'all got understanding. You understand? And it was just, it followed up with communication.
Actually, it's given us a deeper, for a cat that I don't know this cat that was historically, you know what I mean? But the power of that situation and where it actually could have gone, you know what I mean? I made sure that after I talked to you, the next time I saw it said, pull straight up on you.
Hugs.
And no, apologize.
And hugs.
Apologize, number one.
Yes.
I'm 53 years old and I've been through it. But that doesn't give me the right to look at a young blood like he ain't willing to go through it too. But if I'm wise and I've been through it, then why do I want to go through something that I've already been through with you over something as petty as that we were talking about? You know what I mean? It was based on perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't based on you trying to be an asshole or me trying to be an asshole. It was based on perspective. It was a perfect storm in all reality, because I don't have anybody that I'm close with, and you can probably, y'all ain't got no good friends that you ain't bumped heads with.
That's what makes a good friend, and that brings it to the last one too.
It's the comeback.
I love it. This brings us to our last question. Then we want to open it up to the audience, and we want to, get some of your guys' perspective also. There's a thing right now, especially on social media and podcasts, known as toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity. So what I want to know is, what do you guys think toxic masculinity is, and how can, we take the lead in promoting healing? You know what I mean? So I just want to, that's a huge topic going on right now.
He looks like he needs to take it.
Yeah, you wound up for
got his beard all thick, all that wisdom in that beard. Go on, talk that, man.
So to me, toxic masculinity is just a breakdown of men not being able to communicate, express their emotions correctly, right? So toxic masculinity is basically just the one emotion that we know how to express, which is violence. Or like when we say with our women, even with our women, we feel like, oh, we the man of the house. You got to listen to me, this or this and that, and not understanding. Yeah, a dictator instead of leading in love, like Christ said. Christ said that you're supposed to love your wife as Christ loved the church, right?
Church, yes.
And Christ died for the church, right? So you should be willing to die for your wife. But when you look at it from that perspective, then it's more than just trying to lead. It's listening, right? You have to listen. Conversation is always engaged. It's always a two-way street. So it's me telling you something, and then you having that choice to reply back to me, and then me not replying back with me listening just to reply back with an answer. But
we know we've all done that.
Yeah, intentionally.
I'm preparing for my answer. Hey, right now, you ain't even
to somebody, and we always gonna have. As long as men don't know how to express themselves, and the only emotion that we know how to express is violence, we always gonna have toxic masculinity. It's a real thing, and that's the sad part of being a man. But then that's where, kind of like what this whole conversation is, healing self. That's where therapy comes in. Sometimes we say like, yeah, you got to put God first, but then sometimes the people who we talk to, the men who we talk to, they're atheists.
Right.
Sometimes they're Hindu, Buddhists, Muslims, right?
Or not on the same path as you, or where you are in your spiritual walk.
And so for us, it's hard to tell somebody put God first if they don't believe in Him. So we have to give them different options, and so therapy is one of them options. You know?
And I think back in the day, it was a time when church was just mandatory, right? Like church was just mandatory. You used to go to church, you had a drill team at church, you had Bible study at church, you went to church, play basketball, you did everything at church, right?
Yep.
Those days have really shifted. When you look at the church base now, most churches are empty, right? Yep. Because we figured out over the pandemic that we can do church online. Yeah. I can do church on my phone. I can stay at home in the comfort. Yeah. And that has robbed us of us being able to fellowship together, right? We need that. as a healing is to come together and to see other men, for your children to see you fellowshipping, to see you praying, you know, seeing you doing as a leader in your family, as you said, not just being a dictator and saying what you're going to do and what it is, but how do I listen and be a leader? Even sometimes it's just listening to what my daughter or my son has to say.
You know what I think, Bird, is that we can offer, we can often show the evidence of God, because everybody's not going to believe the same thing, whether it be the atheist, the Buddhist, the Muslim, or whatever. If that stop sign out there is your guide, and when you come outside and you look at that stop sign, it helps you to be a better person and do more good than it does harm, then it is what it is. But I often think that instead of, we don't have to push the evidence of God on anybody. God doesn't need a salesman.
That's good.
The evidence of God comes in how I treat my brother, my sister. It comes in how we
that's deep. God don't need a salesman.
God doesn't need a salesman. You know what I mean? But it all, the evidence of God, for me, comes into, what's the scripture say? I'm going to love my brother as I love myself. But the question is often never asked is, do I have the ability to love myself? Right? So if I don't really love me, then if I hate you and if I'm willing to bust a thing at you, beat you, don't give a whatever. If I'm willing to do anything to you that's not about peace, then it's often because I feel a certain way about myself.
Man, come on now.
You know what I mean? A lot of times we get into these arguments, and you see it every day, from the gas station to the church to corporate. We get into these arguments, and they're emotional and they're filled with adrenaline, and they're often so vociferous because we are really not arguing with Bird. Bruh said we're arguing with ourselves.
Say it.
You know what I'm saying? And the reason
I'm angry. You don't know I'm angry.
We're arguing with ourselves, and that's because
I've been angry. I showed up angry today.
we often have a hard time finding, truth inside of ourselves. There's often things that we don't like about ourselves, but the world tells us that we have to just do it. We have to, everything about us has to be okay. And if you want to look at the numbers, I mean, if 60% of what is going on inside of myself is okay, and I got that 40% to deal with, I'm still really winning, because we're putting it on. We have to put things on the scale. We have to be human and understand that we're all subject to being human, and being human. Another way of saying being human is having the ability to F up. But the deeper human, the higher vibration goes to effing up and then realizing it and dealing with it, and also it goes a step further. Sometimes there's some things that I can. There've been times in my life when I've wanted to be accountable, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
To be accountable.
Accountability takes
I don't have the
responsibility.
wisdom. I don't have the knowledge. I'm too deep inside of my problem to be able to see outside of myself. You know what I mean? And so I bump heads on something dumb, and next thing is two brothers, a light-skinned cat.
He always going with this light-skinned. I always said Washington says we's free. Washington said the in-house slaves and out-house slaves.
He's a descendant of El DeBarge. This brother right here is a descendant of El DeBarge.
So what you're saying?
Nobody edit him out. Edit all of that. Just take him all the way out.
What he's saying, though, those emotions cause him to go inward. But at the same time, when you take that step back, the answer is inward as well.
It's inward, yeah.
We have so much untapped resources within ourselves and potential. But sometimes it takes another brother for us to pull it up out of us.
To point out the talents that you already have.
That you know. So instead of focusing so much inward on these emotions and these angers, the solution is there as well.
And that's God. Like I said, God don't need no salesman. God is in us.
So.
All right, I want to open it up to the crew. And then, go ahead. You go and start, and then we're going to pass this around right here to show microphone.
Oh, okay. Well, I made a post today talking about this situation. I know God is in the midst of this meeting right here. The same situation I cried out to. I made a post, Mark can read it or whatever, but I was crying out for help. I was going through, I'd have been through kidney transplant, cancer, all that. And I'm asking myself, why am I still here? And I had the answer inside. Because I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? So whatever battles you're going through, keep going through.
Yeah.
And you got to have the Lord with you.
Yes.
It's a must. It's a given.
Yes.
This meeting is designated for us to be here. We was here. I came at the right time, right day, at the right moment, because I got my answers from you guys. The resources is right here. So I thank God for this meeting. I really do. And to be able to express myself as a man, I'm like this. I done been to the penitentiary, everything. A man is we just hold back so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now that I release myself, I feel better.
Yeah.
I feel so much better, man.
That's powerful.
You brothers are very, very knowledgeable. I got my answers. It's amazing. So.
Good. That's powerful. That's good.
Who else?
That's good. Anybody else?
Just saying something about healing.
Come
just
on.
like maybe a different perspective that you guys want to tap into.
Brethren, what's going on, people?
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to tap in on the last subject you're talking about, toxic masculinity. And I don't know, I guess I would describe that differently than a white liberal female would, which is who I think came up with that term.
Yeah,
Right. So, because, if you were to ask me as a man, what is toxic masculinity, I would say, that's that dude that was bigger than stronger than me, used to bully me around, whatever,
Yeah.
And I was no less a man. I just couldn't hang with him with the hands. That's, that would be. But I think that's a term. We live in a day where it ain't what you say, it's what you mean by what you say. And people use words differently. And if we're not careful, we'll find ourselves being pushed in a corner as men to be a certain way. Everybody have to be a certain way. Look, some people can't. Some people, we are all who we are.
Yeah.
I saw your post too, man. God bless you. Yeah, I comment. Yeah. But yeah, we are who we are,
See, I tried.
Right. We are who we are, and I think that's the key to manhood, is understanding that we don't have to be, everybody ain't gonna be super hard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we know where the boundaries are in terms of manhood. But we gotta learn how to respect each other. Community, somebody was talking about community recently. But the community, the networking ability, and I don't mean just in business, which is important, and I think we got to touch that as well, but in terms of just connection. I remember Billy Brown. You probably don't remember me, but it's cool. I remember Mark Bird.
Yeah.
But the connection of brotherhood where, I could pick up the phone and call somebody and bam, they gave me just what I need. Eric called me this morning out of the blue. And it's amazing how many areas we were able to connect on, business-wise, network-wise, being here. And it's just amazing what happens when we reach out and make that connection with somebody. And so toxicity to me is not a matter of manhood, of female. It's just toxicity is toxicity. And what we got to do is cure that with the waters, man, of love, waters of reaching out, waters of giving a brother or a sister or whoever a hand and understanding. And so I too am 53. And one thing I've learned, man, is we got 2 ears, 1 mouth. And that's for a reason. The better we learn how to listen to people, regardless of where they come from, just be able to hear them and see where they actually coming from before we come back with a solution or a criticism. And that's where healing begins, man. It's just kind of understanding people.
What do you need?
So, first of all, my name's Steve. 19. Just turned 19. But I don't really have a lot to touch on today. I just came in like 20 minutes ago. Really, I don't have a lot to touch on. The only thing I heard y'all talk about was today, the start of was toxic masculinity. And honestly,
I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know how to explain that for myself. I mean, I know.
Ain't no right or wrong.
Okay. So I got you. So what I think it is, you know, kind of like the same thing that my brother said over there. You know, is not really knowing how to deal with yourself or your problems that you are facing in the world. And me being the age that I am, the color that I am, and you know and the generation that I'm in, that's a lot right now. You know, because I see and I deal with it myself too. Right now, I deal with it myself, and I noticed that as y'all was talking about it, and I didn't notice it before, but as y'all was talking about it, I noticed like I had a problem with this with this guy over here, and my head I'd be like, oh, when I see him, I'm gonna beat him up, I'm gonna do this, do that. But I just noticed what y'all was talking about, like we can't let go, we can't own up to what we did wrong, you know, and stuff like that. So, and that is, I noticed that was a problem for me. That is a problem for me.
So I have a question for you at 19-year-old. That what can we do as men that we can help young men like you? What can we give to you that can be? How can we be your resource?
Great question. I feel like
how do we help you?
I feel like you know, just being there. Period. You know, it's a lot of guys in. I'm not speaking for myself because my father is in my life. He's been in my life forever. But it still could turn. You could still have a father, but you could still be looking for guidance. You know. But I feel like it's just you guys can help us by just being there for us. You know, some people, they're just looking for guidance out here, and they don't know which way to go. They just angry inside and wanna release it, and wanna, you know, it comes out with violence. It comes out with violence.
There's a lack of communication, so it sounds like we can communicate with you more, being available to you more,
and not giving up.
Not giving
up because
deep.
I see a lot of people like I can speak on a situation where my one of my close friends, he's off in the streets, and you know, we had a mentor. He goes by the name of Mr. Comey. We had a mentor. You know, big on church and stuff. I used to be big on church. I stopped going after my grandma died, but he brought me back in, and we was going to that for a little while, and you know, he was still messing off whatever he was doing, and you know, he kind of just said, oh, this is too much, I give up on this cat, you know, just don't give up, you know, because it could just, all it takes is one time. All it takes is one time. He's fighting for every time, you're fighting for one time.
Right. He's living. Man, that is deep. You know, and when you think of that, of someone, you know, saying giving up on you, and we've all as men felt that, where we felt like somebody gave up on us or someone didn't believe in us, you know, and that, man, that's something that can rob you of something, you know. And when I think of young men and I see young men like yourself, man, this is powerful for you to speak and be in this room and being able to speak openly, because we want to know. We want to know. They say this Generation X and this, all these terms. Yep. Man, please, what we going to do, throw them away? We can't throw our family, our kids away. They need us, right? And it goes back to what you said, that some of us act like we was never kids before. Well, don't act like you ain't did nothing.
I think we got to understand.
What are you talking about?
And we can talk about this right in a moment. It's like when you came up here, I ain't got nothing to say, and I'm not. BS. Because you just said a mouthful. And it's on us.
Close this out.
It's on us to bring you to the front of the congregation. I brought you up here because I know you. Yeah. And I know you got something to say. Yeah. And I'm not going to let you sit back there and be quiet and let the cameras roll when I know that you have something to say. I did not invite you up here to be quiet. When it's time, there's no right, there's no wrong off inside of this congregation. God don't need no salesman, baby. God just needs to speak to us. Whenever we open our mouths for the right reason, that's God talking.
Yeah.
Call God what you will. God is God. Let me shut up, though.
Man, that was powerful.
So, we're going to wrap it up. Another episode, Talking Reflections. We'll be back.
Talking Reflections.
Again, next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
New panel, a new set of men. Bring one person, bring two people, you know, and we want to keep spreading it. We want it filled up, and we want, you know, to keep doing this over and over, different perspectives. So you guys want to come back? We want you to be on the panel. I want you to be on the panel too. We got to get Pastor on the panel too.
Yes.
We got to get you also. So like you got
Every
your
man bring 10 men.
Yeah. So like
man, can you imagine what that looks like?
Every man bring 10
men. Can you imagine if you bring 10 young men in here? If you bring 10 pastors in here, you bring 10 men. You see what we could do?
Now we're talking on the same accord. Now we got some place to go. Now you got this.
And you can find those alternatives to how to, you know, release that. You know, that's what we're here for, is for those alternatives. And how do I deal with this? You know, because when you're amongst each other as being young, it's just masculinity. It's just, oh, this, I'm that. But when you're amongst mature men, it's like, oh, hold on, you got a little respect. Hey, I'm dealing with this. And we're able to offer alternatives because we were young.
We've been there. Oh, yeah.
And we offer you alternatives. Now you can offer
you give us your perspective.
Alternatives.
Yeah.
You know, you're an untapped resource. Just like he said, he knew you had something to say, but you said you didn't have anything. He helped you tap into your untapped resource.
I believe in you, brother.
I can pick up on what you're saying, you know, like, I don't talk to my guys. I talk to them, but I don't open up to them because it's like, I don't know. Like you said, I don't like opening up. That's what I don't like. But I will, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. All right, this is just a start. This is just our second one. We're going to keep doing this, you know, every Thursday. So, Talking Reflections. Thank you guys for watching. Till next time.
Talking Reflections. Talking Reflections.
Talking Reflections. And believe. Yes.